Hey everyone, I'm Saurabh and I'm a part of Team Web Scrapers. And today we'd like to talk to you about the importance of using certain keywords in the annual 10K filings of companies and their impact on the company's performance. So let us begin with the basics of finance. Uh, there is usually a very big disconnect between a company's actual performance and people's perception of the company. Gauging a company's performance accurately can help investors make a lot of money. Now, to do this, investors and fund managers frequently refer to the 10K filings of a company. These filings give the company's financial performance for a year. Investors analyze the 10K and gauge the sentiments of the firm's performance. Now, in this specific respect, certain keywords in the 10K are very important for a company's perception by the public. Words like analytics, big data, and cloud computing can really improve a company's image. Having had a background of the financial aspect of the equation, let us now define our business problem. So we want to see whether the mention of cutting edge technology in 10K filings affect a company's financials or not. Also, we want to know whether what is the prevalence of cutting edge technology words in the 10K filings. With this, I'd like to hand over to my friend Raghav, who will brief us about the data that we have used.
Thank you, Saurabh. Now let's take a look at the data and the description. So here is the financial growth metrics that we have considered. I'll start it off with an example. So Tesla, for several past years, it has had a negative net income, but the stock price has been skyrocketing for several years. And then there are mature companies like Walmart. So for several years, you see that their stock price is quite stable and constant, but their net income is extremely high. So considering those scenarios, we have considered net profit margin, return on equity, and growth in stock price as the financial KPIs. Then we look at the cutting edge technologies. We have looked at cloud computing, robotics, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and so on. Then we look at the specific industries. We have taken finance, healthcare, transportation, and consumer services. We have excluded IT and computer engineering because our cutting edge technologies are relevant to those industries. So overall, we have a data of 1,400 companies, the words that have been used, the financial KPIs, and the mutual funds for each of those industries. I'll hand it over to Simon to talk more about the data analysis and the process.
Thanks, Raghav. So our methodology will look like this. First, we scrape data using Python, then we do analysis, and finally, we generate insight and give some recommendations. So for web scraping, first we downloaded a file directly from NASDAQ, and inside this file, we have more than 3,000 companies across 4 different industries. Using this list, we're able to get all the 10K files from agar, profit margin and ROE from NASDAQ, and stock price from Yahoo Finance. In this step, we observe some data loss, like we're getting NAs, missing values, or the links are not reachable at all. After getting rid of all these companies, we got a list with roughly 1,400 companies, and we also made a flag for all the S&P 500 companies just for references. For the mutual fund part, we downloaded a file directly from Morningstar for each industry. And these files will contain all the tickers for each mutual fund. And we then search for each ticker to get the CIK. Using all the CIKs, we're able to get all the NQ file links and the NK documents in the next layer. After that, we scrape through the document pages and get all the company names from there. We then try to find matches between the NQ file and our company name list, and we conduct analysis only on those matches. There are only two types of analysis that we did: sentiment analysis and statistical analysis. For the statistical analysis, we basically use t-tests and time series models. These are the type of tests that we conducted. For example, in the first one, we compare used word with not used word for all the companies by year, by words, using the 3 different metrics: profit margin, ROE, and stock price. I will now hand it over to Rishabh to give you more details.
Thanks, Simon. So of all the statistical tests we conducted, about 100 to 150, I'm only going to mention about the outcomes which were significant. And as mentioned before by Raghav, 3 metrics were used: stock growth, return on equity, and profit margin. Our null hypothesis is that companies which mention keyword versus companies which did not mention, there is no significant difference. And what we found was that when companies used keyword in 2013, there was a significant improvement in profit margin for 2015 and not 2014. So there was a delayed effect. Now for companies which used the keywords in 2014, there was a significant difference in ROE and again a delayed effect. And then for 2015, we found significant improvement in return on equity as well as profit margin. So our inference is that as an investor, you can potentially expect returns from dividends and less likely expect profits from growth in company's stock price. So our next step was to check industry-wise. As mentioned earlier, we used 4 industries here: consumer services, finance, transportation, and healthcare. And we found significant results only for healthcare. So our recommendation is to invest in healthcare companies which have mentioned keywords in their 10K filings. Now, for the next test, we checked these metrics before using a keyword first time and after using a keyword. So if companies mention keywords for the first time in 2014, we checked stock growth pre and post 2014. And we found that only for finance there is a significant difference. And for other companies, results were not significant. What it means is if a finance company has used the word for the first time in 2016, invest in it in 2017, as there could be a significant increase in stock price next year. For the next statistical test, I would like to call Alan.
Okay, thank you, Risha. So, as we see in the previous test, if we want a more accurate outcome, we should consider time series issue. So in test 4, we use the time series econometric regression, and our data type is longitudinal data, like the example. And the methodology here we use is called fixed effect estimation. It can help us to remove some error terms are not related to time. For result, we found there are positive effect and positive delay effect in used words, and using keywords frequently also have positive effect. For each keyword, using keywords cloud has significant effect. So my recommendation is just find the investment target which using more cloud keyword in 10K. So now I will hand over to Raghav.
So the final test is about the mutual funds. We had mutual funds across all the four industries, and you can see that the trend is exhibited across all 4 of them. So this is saying that all the mutual funds have included more companies with more keywords over the course of time. All the insights and recommendations together, healthcare industry has shown the positive effect in general, so you can consider it as a potential investment. Finance industry is a good prospect if the keywords were mentioned for the first time in the 10K. Based on time regression econometric analysis, we have found that if the cloud word has been mentioned a lot of times, you can consider to invest in that company. And in general, all the mutual funds are performing well, and they're adding more and more companies that have used the keywords. So I hope you have found our presentation informative and interesting. So boil it up and start investing. Thank you.